I know there is a Sweden study that was presented with individuals that identified as transgender, maybe didn't have surgery, and those that did have surgery that had successful occupations, very successful all the way around, families embraced it, and yet every one of these folks, whether they had transitioned or not, when we look at a 41 attempt suicide rate, within that category, and 20%, 3 times the amount of the normal population, sadly, does commit suicide. My own father had told us in the end, this did not give me the fulfillment that I thought that it would. And I think it's important for people to realize that there are reasons that somebody is either looking to flee femininity or flee masculinity.
Denise Shick joining us today here on the Meeting House on Faith Radio from the Ministry of Help for Families and the sister ministry, Living Stones Ministries. Yes. Joining me here at NRB, the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville. Well, Denise, you have, as you mentioned, begun to write children's books, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm Glad God Made Me a Girl is one of those. So give me an idea about why it is that you wanted to go into that arena and really how you've been able to get across the desired message.
Sure. Well, to want to do even a ministry of this type is not something that any of us really sign up for, but to share with you why would I want to get involved in children's books, I can only tell you that it was by God pressing so heavily on my heart to present books that children could read that would also help parents and counselors, even in the libraries. We're hearing a wonderful results of these books. One principal had contacted me and said I ordered 5 copies of each book so that if any of the children were in the library and somebody else wanted it, that they had the option to read the books. It was just trying to reach them with positive messages to affirm them in who they are. Sometimes girls think that they have to be a boy to be courageous and brave, but that's not true. We look at the biblical character. What about Esther? You talk about being courageous in her time, and to present stories that, again, help the family in discussing these issues with their children, that's safe and biblical.
So as we conclude, let's talk more about the Ministry of Help for Families. What sort of help do you give to these families that have members that are having struggles with gender identity?
We come alongside of them. We offer them different supports depending on the family member, who they are. Maybe it's a former wife, a former husband that's caught up in these situations. And so often we have the focus that it's the parents, but everybody in the family. This has a rippling effect on our society. So also with parents, to have other parents that are going through this, we offer support groups in person and on Zoom. I offer pastoral care and counseling as well. As I said, annual conferences, webinars. It's coming alongside of the family the best that we can, almost like a social services of some sort. What is the person, the family in need of, and how can we come alongside and help them?
So what are the most common questions do you think families have with respect to why they would have a family member that is investigating a change in gender?
Really, one of the big ones that I hear anymore is my child grew up in church. They grew up in a Christian home, a healthy home, and now they're identifying as transgender. They don't understand how this happened or when it happened. But I think when we look at the culture, Bob, to see what's happening with our school systems, when our children are in the care of the public schools, it's all over social media, it's everywhere, and the person is being celebrated. If they identify as transgender, it's like we're supposed to throw this great big party, and it's a big happy event, but that's honestly not what happens from those that I hear from.